After waiting 3 patches, we can finally pull and play with the Archon of the Pyro Nation, Mavuika. In this video, I will explain all you need to know about her, how to build her, how to play with her, everything. 98% of you are not subscribed, so please, don't forget to leave a like and a sub if you like this video. It's totally free, and that way YouTube will know you like my content and will start recommending it more for you and for other people as well. All my links are in the description, just as my Twitch channel for a chance of winning free blessings. Or, if you want to buy Primo Gems for a cheaper price, don't forget to use code DPS on U7Buy. And, without any furthers, let's talk about Mavuika's kit. Mavuika is a 5-star Pyro Claymore user, focused on being an on-field DPS for your teams, with also the possibility of being an off-field sub-DPS. On her normal attacks, Mavuika performs up to 4 attacks, and on her charge attack, she consumes a certain amount of stamina to perform a special strike. And once again, Hoyoverse is finally making justice for Claymore users by giving them new animations. Thank God! When you use her skill, the named moment, Mavuika will deal pyro damage and will enter the Night Soul Blessing state, and you will have 2 different effects depending if you hold or tap your skill button. If you tap it, Mavuika will create a ring that will follow the active character and that will attack nearby opponents for every 2 seconds, dealing pyro damage. But if you hold your skill button, Mavuika will be able to ride her motorcycle, where she can travel various terrains and glide in the air. Additionally, Mavuika's normal, charge and plunging attacks will be converted to deal pyro damage, and during the blessing state, Mavuika will be consuming Night Soul points and will exit this state once all the points are used. And for last, on her burst, Hour of Burning Skies, you don't need energy to use it, and you will instead use Fighting Spirit. Mavuika can obtain Fighting Spirit throughout Night Soul points consumed by nearby party members, since those are going to be converted to Fighting Spirit. And she can also gain Fighting Spirit when nearby party members' normal attack hits opponents, since she gains 1.5 Fighting Spirit, triggering once every 0.1 second. When Mavuika has at least 50% Fighting Spirit, she can consume it all to unleash her burst. After using it, Mavuika gains 10 Night Soul points and enters the Night Soul's Blessing state, dealing AoE pyro damage and entering a state called Crucible of Death and Life. During this state, Mavuika's will no longer consume Night Soul points, and her interruption resistance is increased. Also, the damage dealt by her attacks is increased based on the amount of Fighting Spirit she has when using the Elemental Burst. So your goal will be reaching 100% instead of using her burst every 50% Fighting Spirit, and this state will be cancelled when Mavuika leaves the field. With her Exploration passive, Night Shattering Radiance, the party's Night Soul transmission cooldown is decreased by 20%. With her first Ascension passive, Gift of the Flaming Flowers, when a nearby party member triggers a Night Soul burst, Mavuika's attack increases by 30% for 10 seconds. On her second Ascension passive, Kion Gozi, after using her burst, every point of Fighting Spirit present when it's used increases the damage that the current active party member deals by 0.2%. The maximum increase obtainable this way is 40%, and this effect lasts for 20 seconds, decaying over this duration until it reaches 0. And for last, on her Natlan passive, Night Realm's Gift, Exhaust Mode, after running out of Night Soul points, Mavuika will start consuming Phlogiston when in Natlan, and when her icon turns red, she can use the Night Soul transmission, where if you switch to her when the current active character is sprinting, climbing, swimming, in a movement mode scored by certain talents, or at certain height in the air, Mavuika enters the Night Soul Blessing state and obtains 50% of her maximum Night Soul points. And this Night Soul transmission can be triggered once every 10 seconds by your own party. Her talent priorities are the following. Focus on your skill first, because that's where your Night Soul Blessing state multipliers are. Then focus on her burst to increase the extra damage and the buff she will get. And for last, on your normal attacks, which you can leave at level 1, since they don't offer anything valuable. Now let's talk a bit about Mavuika Constellations, because since she is the Archon of Natlan, I assume most of you will try to make her even stronger with Constellations. On her C1, Mavuika's maximum Night Soul points are increased to 120, and she gains Fighting Spirit 25% more efficiently. Additionally, she gains 40% attack for 8 seconds after gaining Fighting Spirit. On her C2, when in the Night Soul Blessing state, Mavuika's base attack is increased by 200, and she obtains the following effects based on your skill form. If you have the ring, nearby opponent's defense decreases by 20%, and if you are using her on field with her motorcycle, Mavuika's normal, charge, and her attack from the burst deals 60%, 90%, and 120% of her attack as increased damage respectively. Her C3 will increase the level of her burst by 3. With her C4, the effects of the passive talent Kion Gozi are enhanced, because the damage increase gained after using her burst will not decay over time, and an additional 10% damage will be gained. Her C5 will increase the level of her skill by 3, and for last, with her C6, Mavuika's skill will receive all around improvements. When the ring attacks hit opponent, a motorcycle will crash into the struck opponent, dealing 200% of attack as AoE pyro damage. And when Mavuika is riding her motorcycle, she will also summon a ring to follow her, which will decrease nearby opponent's defense by 20% and deal 400% of attack as AoE pyro damage to nearby opponents once every 3 seconds. Additionally, Mavuika's terrain crossing abilities will also be further improved, and when Mavuika is riding her motorcycle and it's not on combat, when her Night Soul points drop to 5, she will gain 89 soul points, and this effect can trigger once every 15 seconds. Now it's time to talk about the best artifact sets that you should farm for your Mavuika, and those are going to be super easy to talk about. Mavuika's best in slot will be Obsidian Codex. On its 2-piece, this set will provide you a permanent 15% damage bonus while you are on Night Soul Blessing state and on field, and its 4-piece effect will increase your crit rate by 40% for 6 seconds after you consume 1 Night Soul point while on field. But if you want to use your Mavuika more as an off-field sub DPS, Scroll of the Hero of Cinder City will be another amazing option for her, because even though she doesn't care about the energy gain on its 2-piece effect, the 4-piece effect will allow your Mavuika to provide 40% damage to the characters that have the element that react with her, allowing you to give a total of 80% damage to your main DPS if we add her passive to the mix. And for last, if you are still farming for her best in slot set, you can always mix and match 2 pieces between the sets that provide attack percent, damage percent, and EM. Now that we know the best sets, let's now talk about the best stats you need to be looking for. For the Sense, attack percent or EM. For the Goblet, pyro damage. For the Circlet, crits, with a bigger focus on crit damage thanks to the set giving you 40% crit rate already. And for the substats, you should focus on crits, EM, and attack. For Mavuika weapons, her best in slot will be her signature, 1000 Blazing Suns. Her weapon will provide a massive amount of flat attack, and to compensate that, you will get a small amount of crit rate on its substat. And on its passive, when using your skill or burst, you will gain 20% crit damage and 28% attack for 6 seconds once every 10 seconds. While you have this buff active, using normal or charge attacks that deal elemental damage will extend this buff by 2 seconds every second with a max of increase of 6 seconds. And in addition, if you are in the Night Soul Blessing state, these effects are increased by 75%, and its duration will not count down if you are off field. Her second best option will be Dia's signature weapon, Beacon of Reed Sea, which provides a good amount of crit rate on its subset, something that is not that bad as long as you don't get a lot of crit rate on substats, and its passive will increase your attack by a total of 40% for 8 seconds when hitting opponents with your skill and or taking damage, and when not protected by a shield, your max HP will also be increased by 32%. Another 5-star options you can use on Mavuika if you have them on your account with no characters to use them are Fang of the Mountain King, Verdict, Red Horn, and Wolf's Gravestone, but keep in mind that some of these weapons may perform worse than the other 4-star options. Her best 4-star option will be the Battle Pass Claymore Serpent Spine, which provides a good amount of crit rate on its subset, and its passive will increase your damage by 6%, but also your damage taken by 3% for every 4 seconds when you are on field without receiving damage with a max of 5 stacks. And for last, her best F2P weapon will be the Craftable Claymore Tidal Shadow, which will provide you a lot of attack, especially if you pair Mavuika with a healer, or the event weapon Mailed Flower if you manage to enjoy its passive effect, since it will give you a good amount of EM and attack for 8 seconds. For Mavuika teams, as we already realized, it will be able to be played as an on-field DPS or as an off-field sub-DPS, so here are some team options. For a Meld team, pair her with Bennett, Shilonen and Citlali. For a Vape team, pair her with Bennett, Shilonen and Farina. For an Overload team, pair her with Bennett, Ororon and Chevreuse. For a Kinich team, pair her with Bennett, Kinich and Emily. For a Chaska team, pair her with Bennett, Chaska and Citlali or Farina. And for a Moalani team, pair her with Moalani, Shilonen and Kazuha or Sucrose. And for last, any team where you could previously play with Xiangling, you now have the option to fit Mavuika into those teams. So, if your team is not with Tartaglia or Raiden, you can finally switch Xiangling for Mavuika since she has bigger uptime on the pyro application without being dependent of her burst. And just a reminder that you shouldn't limit yourself into only using the teams I showed here. Feel free to experiment and have fun with the characters you want to use. And if you have any questions about who to use to replace the characters you don't have, feel free to ask me in the comments. So what's your opinion about Mavuika? Are you pulling for the Pyro Archon? After this guide, I hope you have a more understanding on how to build and play with her. If you like my content, don't forget to leave your like and your sub. 98% of you are not subscribed, and your support would be amazing. A special thanks to my members for trying to support me even more, and thank you so much for staying until the end. Don't forget to check my links in the description, such as my Twitch channel for a chance of winning free blessings, or U7Buy to have a discount when buying Primo Gems. Stay safe, have a good one, and good luck on your pulls.